I'm a samurai. Yo, clap it. What's up, everybody? How you doing? My name is Hero. This is Coding with Strangers, and I promised. I thought I was done making Assassin's Creed video. The farming of you all who think that you, for some reason, rule the internet and have an opinion that everyone has. I thought those days were numbered. I thought for sure I wasn't gonna be able to make video. I think the best made video I've made so far on Assassin's Creed did the poorest. But, you know, that's how the grift works in this situation. I make content that people pretend to be angry about. I post it and, you know, they get to react to it. Shoot, a lot of people that are still commenting on the videos that I make are people that essentially are just woefully lying to themselves. Like, they're like, somebody will come into the comment section and say, oh, Yasuke wasn't a samurai. Like, bro, shut up. No one cares. No one cares. We get it. We get it. Black people make you uncomfortable. It's okay, man. It's okay. But I think it's appropriate to do one of two things when people are being bigoted. Preferably the first option. Call it out when you can. Second option, only under extreme circumstances should you be allowed to knock a motherfucker out. You feel me? Just cock back and just be like, blammo. Your mouth is writing a check that your ass can't cash. You feel me? A lot of people are very brave and bold on the internet because they don't have faces. But you know, you can see me. You can come see me, and I always know I'm talking to a little boy on the internet when they say something weird like, that's why you're fat. Yeah, your mom loves it. Like, what do you want me to respond to that? No one brings a six-pack to a party. You bring a keg, baby. That's how you know the party started. But regardless of the insults or the grandstanding of these conversations, it still goes without saying when people, and this is specific to gamers, and this is why I've always believed that when politicians say gamers or video games make gamers violent, I think that's a bad faith argument. The argument should be aggressive people play video games. A certain demographic of gamers are very aggressive because they do weird things like dox people on the internet. Or like this story about a dude in New York who was getting beat in a game that was going to shut down in 2 days. Here's the article for that. That was going to be today's story. A dude so angry that he kept losing at a game to one particular person, he went and found the person IP address, went to their house, snuck in, and attacked him. And it wasn't until the dude's father came home that he was able to subdue the kid. And the funny part about it is this game was due to shut down this week or the week of the attack. So for me, it's one of those weird things where it's just like, who am I to stop you from being angry? Be angry. Vocalize your opinion. In fact, protest the game if you like. But attacking people on the internet shows that you're not really concerned about your grievances. You're concerned about causing an overreaction or imposing your will rather on people to make sure that they don't get to enjoy it. Because you're not mad that the game exists, you're mad that someone who's not you will get to enjoy a game when nothing is really stopping you from enjoying the game other than your own ego, racism, and bigotry, right? So so we have this article, but this is we're just going to take a glimpse here because I think it's important that leadership should lead from the top. And I think Ubisoft has a moral obligation to protect not only their workers from the onslaught of abuse that they're getting, but also protect their customers who might feel apprehensive about playing this video game because they don't see any support. Let's get into this, shall we? Ubisoft CEO condemns hateful acts against developers following AC Shadow backlash. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot has spoken out about the malicious and personal online attacks that have been directed at his employees and partners, citing it as one of his major concerns in games industry at the moment. Guillemot gave a wide-ranging interview that was posted on Ubisoft's website on Thursday, speaking about various topics including the future of Assassin's Creed, X-Defiant, and more. He was also asked about what dismays him in the industry currently and pointed specifically to online harassment in response. One thing I am concerned about right now is the malicious and personal online attacks that have been directed at some of our team members and partners. Guillemot said, I want to make it clear that we at Ubisoft condemn these hateful acts. I am in the strongest possible terms and encourage the rest of the industry and players to denounce them too. And I think this conversation is very good. I think this is something that a leader needs to do. I think it's important for them to do. But because he's talking about this, a lot of people won't get to read further down the article. And I'll give you the TLDR. He's basically saying, yo, we want to remake a bunch of games, but we don't want to pay people for that because we want to maximize our cost. So he's praying that the AI technology gets good enough so that those games can be made by AI. And I remember some of the San Andreas or the Grand Theft Auto games got a remake, and they were made with like artificial intelligence, and those games were atrocious. So if that's what they're thinking about doing, the games industry is fucked. But because we're so busy talking about this bullshit, we can't address this as a collective community. You see, like, because we are stuck talking about nonsense, like who gets to enjoy video games these days, we can't talk about the more pressing issue that the most creative minds in the media might be pushed out, and some of the best versions of these video games we won't get to experience in their authentic way. For example, look at Metal Gear Solid Delta, which looks to be doing a remake completely from scratch up using the Unreal Engine 5, and how majestic that looks. I don't think Ubisoft has it within them to do the same thing for us as far as Assassin's Creed is concerned. But we can't even talk about that because the headline for this article took off, and that's what everyone's saying. Ubisoft's woke, Ubisoft's woke. We've heard the story all the same. But you know what? One of the primary arguments I've heard is Assassin's Creed Shadows is doing atrocious in Japan. If you go to Japan right now, they are rioting. Over 200,000 people downvoted a video on YouTube in Japan. Even though anyone can access it, that's besides the point. Even though anybody can access the video from anywhere on the internet, we're all pretty sure that all 200,000 downvotes on the Japan version of the trailer is authentic. Or the fact that it's #1 selling in Japan pre-order is not real. It's not an indication of fandom. Or how about this? It's probably racist because, they took away an opportunity for the #3 biggest gaming industry. That's even with per capita in mind. They could make a game if they wanted. But they're worried about a game from the West. So all of this hogwash to say, what would happen if a man traveled to Japan to, let's say, record some of these riots, to record some of this backlash? Let's ask everyday people on the streets of Japan how they feel about Assassin's Creed. And this is the man they chose to send. Clap it. No worries, people. Private Eye is on the case. Private Eye Kabarutas. About 4 months ago, I don't know the story if this is true or not, but it makes it a lot funnier if it is true. About 4 months ago, Kabaras, this lovely individual, went to Japan, found one of his friends who likes his videos on YouTube, and asked him to go around with him to tour and ask people what they think about Assassin's Creed. Now, it's low-hanging fruit. Could I talk about his general demeanor and how he probably stands out in the crowd? Sort of like how the character he's upset about being in a video game, Yasuke, being a black person in Japan, trying to fit in but stands out. Could I talk about how like there's a parallel there and how he missed that irony in the process of trying to prove something? Yeah, I could do that. I could do a whole deep dive on the psychological deficiencies these individuals are having because black people in video games, right? But that's neither here or there. We're not going for the low-hanging fruit. There's some premium shit at the top of this tree, and I need you guys to get to it. This video is 19 minutes long. Trust me, we're not going to look at the whole thing, and you'll see why. But I just want you to get the guy's opening.
What's up, guys? I'm Kubertus, and I came to Akihabara to ask Japanese people what they think. What are their thoughts about the latest Assassin's Creed trailer? Ubisoft had just released the trailer last week, and I've seen many people over the internet sharing their opinions. I think that in this case, Japanese opinion matters a lot. Don't you guys think? So I brought my friend Sean with me. Say hello to them, Sean. Yeah, he's a dear follower he quickly became a friend of mine here in Japan, and he's gonna help me with the interviews and translating what people say. Okay, so let's get to it.
His B footage role goes on for a long time, but one thing that I will say for him, good on him for getting the B-roll footage, and I want you to count how many women he interviews.
じゃあ、お先にちょっとこちらトレーラーの方を、ちょっと1分ぐらいほど見てもらって、その後にちょっと日本
And basically he's going to show he does this for every person in the video, but he shows every person in the video and he shows us the person that watching this video, them watching the video. He could have fast forwarded to these points, but he chose not to. Don't know why he felt the need to show every section, but good on him. And I'll give him credit where credit's due. To get people more comfortable with filming, because I'm assuming Japanese people aren't big on the whole being filmed thing, but respecting that but still getting the interview and still getting the content, I'll give him credit for that. I found that to be really impeccable. It's almost like he's assimilating to someone's culture in order to accommodate them. It's so strange to see.
And follow the blade.
So, do you think that the trailer that you just watched is actually a good representation, a good and accurate representation of Japanese people, history and culture?
今のトレーラーを見て、日本の文化や歴史の適切な表現だと、ちょっと、表すには適切だと思いますか？どう思いますか？
そこまで日本の文化にすごく詳しいというわけではないんですけれども、特にそんなに違和感はなかったと思います。はい。
はい。なるほど。
All right. First person asks, hey, do you think this was an accurate depiction of Japan and Japanese culture? It looks fine to me. Clap it. First person you talk to on the streets, they say, yo, it looks good to me. Looks good to me.
そうです。はい。Good?
Good.
以上、no more question. 以上。
Sorry?
一応メインの方です。
So what did you say?
He's not very specific, but he doesn't say there's too much strange going on.
Much strange going on?
They're so, I just love like, good on him for being so openly awkward and leaving this in for us to examine, because this is something that would be cut, like the awkwardness of getting not getting the response you are wanting, and even leading the question. But what he doesn't realize is that the internet isn't real to everybody. The internet is only real for the people who stay on the internet. And this is so true. We see this over and over again. We just got out of an election debate recently, and we know people commenting on like allegations on who's as fit to be president, who's fit to be president. 60% of those people will not vote. It shows. It shows. We've talked to people. I've personally talked to people at rallies on both sides of the aisle who aren't registered to vote. And it's always crazy when you go to these rallies. There's never anywhere a booth or anything like that set up for people to register to vote. It's funny, but like he has a current situation. He got his first wake up call that maybe his assertion of people on the internet is not real. And instead of him to take that, sit with it, and maybe think and redirect, he's gonna keep on looking. Let's see what he finds.
What do you think about the characters that were depicted in the trailer? Do you think that they fit well the Japanese people future history points?
トレーラーで、登場したキャラクターは日本の文化に、すいません日本の文化を表す感じとか、まあ、登場してなんかやっぱ変なのか、まあ大丈夫、別に問題はないかなってと。
ああ、なるほど。まあでも、なんだろうな。
That's difficult. I don't find much strange with them, but feel like it mixes foreign-like aspects with Japan in a good way. In a good way. The irony is and I don't want to be like derogatory of Japanese people, but I can only base this off the example that I get off of American people. And from what I understand, American people aren't very well versed on their history or education about social issues that don't directly impact them.
ゲームの設定は戦国時代ですけど、その歴史、まあ、日本の歴史の適切な表現や正確な表現、登場するキャラクターたちも、まあ、どう思うのかを、お聞かせください。
キャラクターの格好も十分適。
The characters look fine to me, and the weapons used like the Hinawa Jiwu matchlock, so I don't think there was anything weird with it.
いいです。OK、ありがとうございます。
すみません。ありがとうございます。
So second person now, he's come to a grid wall. The person's like, everything's fine, everything's cool. He even mentions that the weapons they're using look fine and they look cool. And I don't know if these people are just being overly polite, or maybe they find it kind of weird to tell a foreigner that a foreign person in a game isn't really cool because you, my friend, are a foreigner. So like asking, because I don't know if he understands, they see him as a foreigner too. So if they say they don't like this foreigner, will they be mistaken as thinking that he being a foreigner here is bad? Like it is one of those run-of-the-mill things where he didn't really think this through all the way. And like I said, I still want to believe that he paid money to fly from wherever he's from in the world to come here and do this, because it just adds more funny factors to it. And also I really love the double straps on the sneakers. I mean, chef's kiss. Let's fast forward. He asks several people, but I think this is going to be 4, 5, and 6.
今のトレーラーを見て、設定は日本の戦国時代ですけど、その日本の歴史や文化の適切、まあ、正確な表現になっていると思いますでしょうか。
なってます。なってます。
I think it is. I think it is.
なってると思います。すごい
I think it is. I think it's done really well. I think it's really well created.
なるほどです。ありがとうございます。
The samurai character that is featured in the trailer is Yasuke. He is a historic figure of Japanese culture. Are you guys familiar with him?
は知らない。
知らない。
知らないっす。
知らないです。
なるほどで。
知らないですす。
はい。
And this is something that he touches on here in a little bit, and we'll fast forward. So basically, the consensus is people who don't know who Yasuke is found the trailer to still be interesting. And one of the catch-alls was one of the people, I think it was the fourth person he interviewed, said he enjoys learning about different people's perspective on his own culture. So that means he initiated a conversation that he has the wherewithal to say, damn, I've been in my culture my whole life. I would love to know how someone from the outside looking in would actually feel about my culture. The incredible sense of appreciation for your culture being shared with people instead of being a zealot and trying to keep it away, play keep away from people. That level of nuance and curious thinking is just not established in the Western media or Western culture for the vocal minority on the internet. They just really don't know how to handle it.
わかりました。
OK, that's all.
もう大丈夫。質問。No more question?
No more question.
はい。じゃあ質問は以上でございます。すみません。はい。ありがとうございました。
And I love how he shows every video and everything about this. But to answer the question at the beginning of this session, unless I'm horribly misgendering anybody in the video, but I didn't see any women being in this video. And notice how, who are we kidding? He's not walking up to any woman. He's not walking up to any woman on these streets. Like, I know it sounds bad, but he was not equipped to walk up to a woman in this, that if there was ever a time where you could walk up to a woman and just ask her questions without the threat of being perceived as some scandalous, devious man, that was it. But he didn't reach out to talk to anybody. So it lets me know two things. One, he came here with an objective to subject people to Yasuke and try and get them to have a negative opinion of him that matches his own real world opinion. Two, he doesn't have, in a world where he has to decide whether he likes women more than he dislikes black people, he chooses to dislike black people more because he didn't ask not one question as it pertains to Naoe. And yeah, he at some point during the interview, he mentioned, how do you feel about the representation of the characters while leaning into Yasuke? But he never once directly asked about Naoe, who is the female protagonist in this game. He was only focused on Yasuke. So it's hard for me to say, it's not about racism when his dog whistle is so fucking loud it can drag a fucking hippo to the fucking party, you know? Like, his dog whistles are too damn loud. But it's not enough, right? It's not enough. He didn't get the clip, the soundbite he wanted. He didn't get someone saying they didn't like the game. So what does he do? He retreats. He goes back to his comfort zone. He goes back to where he will more than likely get the affirmation and confirmation that he wants. He goes back to his echo chamber.
Someone around here who still has to be interviewed.
Nani?
Yeah, I mean, you're Japanese, right?
Yeah, I am.
Born and raised, right?
Yep.
You never even left Japan the whole life, right?
Nope.
Okay, so tell me, do you think that the Assassin's Creed trailer, the latest one, is actually a good and accurate depiction of Japanese culture and people?
For me, if it was fiction, then it'd probably be okay. But
for him, if it was fiction, it would probably be okay. Assassin's Creed is not a real life depiction of anything. In fact, at the beginning of every game, it says things in this story have been stretched or this is not to be taken as fact. If you did want to lean on anything that was actual representation, it would probably be architecture, as the Cathedral of Notre Dame was thoroughly impressed with the representation of their cathedral churches. And this is the problem with his interview. he as a host doesn't understand the difference between fiction and nonfiction and doesn't have the wherewithal or the capacity to challenge people on this misconception. And also, there's a bias here that he's not even willing to acknowledge. But he's Japanese. He's lived there his whole life. He hasn't been corrupted by the internet. He's not someone who's leaning heavily on things that he's been told to feel on the internet.
I'm not too specific or familiar with the Assassin's Creed series.
Oh, you never
After
played
hearing
it?
that every other game had the main character from that country, the respective.
Another thing that you could simply look up, all the Assassin's Creed games do not have main protagonists from their same place of origin. I believe Black Flag had a man from Welsh out in the Caribbean. I believe the PSP version, Freedom, has I believe a person from Morocco, a black female protagonist that's roaming France. She's not from France. She was a protagonist of a game. It was on a portable, but nonetheless. So he's admitted he doesn't know the games. He doesn't understand the difference between fiction and nonfiction, and he has an inherent bias, right? So there's three things right there that's made him unqualified to have this conversation. He can have an opinion, but to base it in fact is where people like me have a problem.
Country, that's when it felt really racist that Japan doesn't get that. Even the Shinobi character, like even though she's Japanese, and a lot of people have been saying like, hey, there is a Japanese character. From what I've seen, Ubisoft said that Yasuke is going to be the main character, and the main character, Yasuke, is not Japanese, and that's how I feel it's racist when it comes to the Japan remake.
Wait, what?
How I feel it's racist.
Clap it up, we got it. It's racist. It's racist because Yasuke is not Japanese and he's black. So is this racist? Is this like black on Japanese racist? Or is this like Western media racist on Japanese people? Like, or can black people be removed from it? Like, we're not racist? Or is this like because the studio's in Montreal? Or where's the game? The game's made. The game is made in Montreal, so like maybe the Canadians, like the people from the North, they're the true racist. But then it's crazy because we know that the writer is Japanese. We know that the game's director, and they have a studio that was built in Japan specifically to make this game more accurate to the culture. And accuracy is important because notice a lot of normies, because I don't think any of those people know what Assassin's Creed was. None of those people have played Assassin's Creed as a game, just by the sheer fact none of them knew what the game was. They're clearly okay with the aesthetics of the game because they see their culture being represented. Because people like to conflate culture as a form of identifying people. Culture is a way of life, it's social norms, it's a collective group of social norms that people have agreed upon to follow. Their dress, their talk, their food, their style, their swagger. That's what makes it a culture. It's a vibe check. So you can imitate people's culture. You can imitate it well. But to claim that is racist because Yasuke, who is from Japanese lore, who is a person that existed in Japanese lore, and that's not an argument, that's not a debate, he was there. My guy was there. For them to say it was racist shows me that he doesn't know what racism is. But who are we kidding? He just walked around translating for this bigot, assuming that they were going to get a soundbite that normal people outside of the internet and his Discord would care about an Assassin's Creed game. That's one of the more wild things. And I think someone who makes content on the internet, it took me a long time to figure out this certain perspective, because I've made hundreds of thousands of videos and pieces of content. And there was always this wanderlust idea that people would care. But then you remember, everybody comes and watches the NFL Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl's viewer numbers and viewership pales in comparison to a cricket game in India. The biggest sports star isn't LeBron James. It's some dude that plays a sport I've never seen. Right? There are soccer players that are dwarfing NBA players' follower numbers on social media. And that's when you really start to realize that even your internet is still a small segment, small tiny corner, a niche group of people.
When it comes to the Japan remake. Not remake.
But were you familiar with Yasuke before this trailer?
Absolutely nothing.
Really? Oh, okay.
I've not heard of him until
curious.
now.
And if you look back at the interviews we just had earlier today, in my opinion, it doesn't seem that Japanese people are familiar with Assassin's Creed or even Yasuke himself, right? What would you say about it?
I would say that would be correct. When I saw the Assassin's Creed Shadows thing and how that blew up, I asked a few of my coworkers who are also gamers if they even knew Assassin's Creed or Yasuke, and both of them said no. It doesn't seem that anyone in Japan that I know at least knows about the series or the character Yasuke. Not the character, the historical figure.
So you think that would you think that when they look at the trailer, they think that it's just a fictional story and that's it?
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure.
So he just answered the question. He literally said in the beginning of this that because they're not portraying this as fiction, that he has concerns that people will think it's real. He just asked him, are you concerned that people will look at this and think it's fictional? And he says, yeah, I think so. So your primary concern isn't really your concern. We know we now have confirmation of what their concerns are. It's black people in video games and black people enjoying video games. I don't need to hear nothing else. But sometimes you just gotta remind people that they're ill-equipped to have this conversation on a broader scale. And I want you to really think about this video. He's posted 19 minutes of this, and 19 minutes of 7 people telling him to his face he's wrong. And at the end of it, this is the resolve on his face. Like he has no concern that he is wrong or not in the wrong here. He doesn't have there's nothing connecting those dots for him. And it's quite unfortunate because then he leans on his camera guy, and his camera guy, who's Japanese, doesn't have the wherewithal or the confidence to put his face on camera and stand by his word, stand on some business. You feel me? Big balls. You don't got them, bro. They're not in your favor. But I digress. Someone went to Japan, talked to 7 random Japanese people, and I think now, based on their logic, we can all put our hands up and say, hey, look, looks like Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be a great game. Clap it up. I'm going to still buy the game. I'm still going to play it. I'm going to enjoy it thoroughly. If you want to help me purchase that, feel free. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the donation button. The games cost $90 or $70 these days. I could use some help. Patreon's open as well. You guys take care.